Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video in its entirety, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on, and better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Please, hurry up, please.
Drop the knife now!
The deputy is there.
Drop it now! Drop the knife! Drop the knife now! 10:33. Drop it! Get back. Back up. Drop the knife now! Drop it. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop it now. Put it down. Put the knife down. Put it down. Put the knife down. Put it down now. Put the knife down. Put it down. Drop it. Drop the knife. Put it down. Put the knife down. Put the knife down.
Maybe I'm a killer when I'm not.
Drop the knife. Drop the knife.
Drop the knife.
Drop the knife now. Drop the knife.
God damn it! So you're all kidnapping me? You got it? Yeah, I know, so can get cut up. It's like y'all did my family.
All right, let's get into this. So this person had earlier in the day ingested, I think they said about 4 grams of methamphetamine, and she was in Walmart and she was opening up a package with a knife in it. So the knife that's in her hand is not hers. She did not pay for it, so it's basically retail theft. So she's got a stolen knife in her hand. The manager attempted to stop her, tried to get the package and stuff from her, but she was able to get the knife out, open it, and started threatening him. She started threatening him and employees with the knife and apparently a brick. And Walmart employees had tried to calm her down, and she ended up walking over into the clothing area, and this is where this officer comes into play at. So we see a Walmart employee right here, and then
Drop the knife!
This is apparently another Walmart employee right here, and then one right here. And you can see one down this aisle right here, so I'm assuming they're keeping customers away from this immediate area so that they don't get harmed by this woman. So they seem to be doing a pretty good job of trying to contain her.
Now!
I'm not sure what this dude has. It looks like an air pump thing for like a bicycle or basketballs or something like that. Well.
Drop the knife now! Now!
Yeah, I think that's what he's using. There's little pedals right there so that you can put your feet down on top of them, and then this is the cylinder for the pump. So I guess he was using that as something to keep distance between him and her in case she came towards him. I don't know what he was planning on doing with that thing. Not the most ideal thing to get.
Drop it now! Drop the knife! Drop the knife now! 10:33. Drop it! Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop it.
So, right over here, there's some toilet paper, and I'd imagine there's probably something else. There's multiple things in this middle aisle right here. I wouldn't necessarily say that these are great barriers, but they're obstacles. They're something that a person would have to do extra to navigate around. And I think it could have been to his advantage to maybe go behind this stack of toilet paper right here. That way, if she did come at him, she would have to go left or right, or she would have to try and leap over this thing. And if she did, most likely she wouldn't do it very well and would fall on the toilet paper and hit the ground. Whatever the case may be, that would at least buy him some extra time in the event that she did try to lunge at him, because she is within 21 feet of him. Now, a lot of people, they always talk about, why don't police use tasers more? Some people say, why don't you just shoot him in the leg? that needs to be a whole nother video in and of itself. I'll have to write that down to do a video, why you don't shoot people in the leg. But other than that, people will say, well, why didn't you use taser? Why didn't you use taser? Why didn't you use taser? He does end up using taser, but he only uses taser when backup arrives, and backup is able to provide lethal cover. So when people complain about tasers not being used right away, that's a sign that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand the tactics. Sometimes tasers fail, and there's lots of videos out there where you can see this. Taser deployment occurs not just once but twice, and it has no effect on the person whatsoever. It's not so much that the taser itself is not having an effect on the person, like they're able to withstand the pulses. It's because of probe placement. Either probes aren't hitting them, only one probe's hitting them, or there's clothing disconnects occurring that is preventing NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation. And you have a limited range on a taser. You have about 15 to 25 feet on them. That puts you extremely close to someone. And at that distance, a person can very quickly close the distance on a person who knows that this person's coming at them and they have a holstered gun within 21 feet. So this is, people call this the Tueler drill, or the 21-foot rule. Most of them call it the 21-foot rule. But, and I forget which agency he is a part of, but there's an Officer Tueler, did some studies back in the day and found that within 21 feet, if a suspect's 21 feet away from you, they can close the distance and get onto you before you can draw your gun and get an incapacitating hit on target. Even when you know the threat is coming, like they're about to start coming towards you, you still, for the most part, can't get your gun out on time and put an incapacitating round on target, an accurate incapacitating round on target. You might be able to put a round on target, but its shot placement may not be as good. It may not be a round square into the heart. It may be in the stomach or something like that. So at this distance, if he utilizes taser and it fails and it does not cause an MI, she is able to close that distance extremely fast and would be able to get on top of him and start slashing and stabbing, causing serious physical injuries and or death before he could ever get his gun out of his holster and put a round into her. So that's why you don't see single officers who are all by themselves automatically go straight to taser. Now, there may be some, out there. There may be a couple videos out there where you can see someone does this. They do something opposite of always going to the gun first. They may pull their taser out, or you may see a video or two out there where someone's got a gun pointed at somebody, and then with their offhand they reach down, pull the taser out, and pull it up and point, and they're kind of doing a double fisting thing, and they're able to get a taser deployment off. That's not within training. That's not something that is trained for. But if it works, it works. Now, is it something that everyone should attempt to try to do? No, not at all. Those people rolled the dice, and it just worked out in their favor on some of those instances, if they were even successful. The safe thing in this scenario is to meet deadly force with deadly force, and that's exactly what he's doing. So no problem there. Now, other people would be looking at this video and saying, well, if she was a black woman, he would have shot her 15 times. Blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a difference between a video like this, where a person is just standing there and not acting overtly aggressive and hostile. She's acting aggressive and hostile, in my opinion. I would describe it as that, but it's not very, very strongly. And she's standing there. Other videos where people come running at the officer and they have to fire. Of course, if they come running towards you or walking towards you, that leaves them with no choice. They have to fire. She's just standing there at this point. She's still a threat. By all means, she's still a threat. And if she were to start walking towards him, have no problem with him mag dumping on her. If she lunged at him, no problem with him mag dumping on her. But she, at this moment, is not doing anything to have him think or fear for his life, and him think that he has to use deadly physical force to shoot her. He's covering her with lethal force in the event that she does come towards him, but she's not doing anything in the moment to be shot. The anti-police crowd has a very hard time seeing it like that. They will see this video and they'll see some white woman who is holding a knife and then get shot and say, well, if she was black, she would have been shot 15 times. They would have killed her already. They wouldn't have given her any chance whatsoever. Blah, blah, blah. There are all these videos out there discount those bullshit myths. And that's all they are. They're bullshit myths. They're bullshit accusations that the anti-police crowd creates to paint a bad picture for police. There aren't racist cops going out there shooting people just because of their skin color. It's ludicrous.
It now. Put it down.
So there's still customers in the background here. You can see some person pushing a cart here. So this is where knowing your target and what is behind it comes into play. There are clothing racks back here. You have no idea if there's a person in behind this clothing rack. So I did a video, I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was from Los Angeles. And it was an incident where there was a guy inside a shopping center, a mall, and he just started attacking people, and he went up an escalator and got to the top floor, and some woman was up there looking at clothing, and he got a hold of her and started beating her with I think it was the bike lock. And the police initially get the call saying it was an active shooter kind of incident. And you see the officers arrive. They go up the escalator. They get up to that top floor where they're at. And one officer comes around with a rifle. He comes around that shelf, the aisle, and fires couple rounds or a few rounds. I forget how many rounds he fires. Maybe 3 rounds. One of them hits the guy, and one of them misses, and it goes through a wall into a changing room, and it hits a teenage girl, and it kills her. Of course, they had no idea that anybody was back there or anything like that. But that goes into knowing your target and what is behind it. So his positioning right now has this clothing area in the backdrop, and we don't know what's behind this. So that's something you have to think about. And so he could try to change his positioning. If we go back to this camera angle, still don't know what's in behind these shelves, but at least there is less of a distance from this angle going from here to this wall back there than there is from this angle going from here to damn near into the store back there. So firing from this angle could have been better. Could have been. I'm not going to say it would have been better, but it could have been better to minimize any over travel in the event that a round misses. And unfortunately, there are rounds missed in these type of shootings. It happens. Of course, the training goes into, you're always accountable for every round you fire, etc. But there is a difference between flat range shooting and real world encounters. So you can be as accurate as you can be on the range because no one's shooting back at you, no one's trying to kill you. Real world, when it comes to that kind of stuff, adrenaline starts pumping, things are moving very quickly. It can be difficult to get all rounds on target, especially when you're dealing with a pistol, a very short-barreled weapon that you only have 2 points of contact on. That coupled with training budgets and whatnot, some agencies just cannot afford to go shoot a whole lot, and so the only time they do get to go shoot is when they do qualifications, and I wouldn't necessarily say that qualifications should constitute as training. So there's a multitude of things that go into why there are missed rounds in gunfights or officer-involved shootings. Not saying it's acceptable or anything like that, but just know that they do occur, and those are some of the reasons behind why they occur. And you can think about your positioning in the target and how can you minimize the chances of anyone else being injured if you miss. This is also why I think long guns are a good option whenever there's a call involving a deadly physical weapon. So I'm suspecting that this officer was dispatched to this location and knowing that it's a weapon call, like someone's got a weapon and they're threatening people. In that instance, he should have got a long gun out of his car. Now, I don't know if his car had a long gun in it or not. There's a possibility that it didn't. But if his car did have a long gun in there, then he failed to get the proper tool out. If you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle and bring your friends with rifles. Rifles or shotguns, they have better incapacitating power than pistols do. So at this distance right here, he for sure could be Johnny on the spot with a rifle or shotgun and be very, very unlikely to miss her. With a rifle, shotgun, you got longer barrel, better accuracy, and you got more points of contact on that weapon, making it more stable and more accurate. And as I said, better incapacitating power.
Drop it now. Put it down. Put the knife down. Put it down.
now I'm going to talk to you.
Put the knife down. Put it down now. Put the knife down. Put it down. Drop it. Drop the knife. Put the knife down.
So we see backup over here arriving. And she decides to go this direction. I can only imagine that she was probably thinking in her head about the potential for crossfire. And she decided to change her course of action and come up this way versus come up this way. Because if she would have started shooting at her or he starts shooting at her, there could be that potential for crossfire. A round could miss, a round could go completely through her, whatever. So she made the right choice in going this direction and coming up through here.
Maybe I'm the killer and I'm not. Maybe I'm the killer and I'm not.
Drop the knife.
So she's talking about killing, and a news article that I read said something about excuse me. She said something about she did not kill her family, and started talking about some man named Bill. Remember, she's on meth, but the Marion County Sheriff's Office investigated, and they didn't find anything to believe that she'd actually killed anybody or anything like that. But she's going on about crazy shit, as meth heads do.
Drop the knife.
Drop the knife. You said, "God, drop the knife." Drop the knife.
So while she's distracted by this other deputy over here, he finds the opportunity to go to taser. So now that there is lethal cover being provided over here, he can now safely get a less lethal weapon out and deploy it. He has a Taser 7. Taser 7 has 2 lasers on it. So when you see it come up, you're going to see a green laser dot here at the top, and then down here at the bottom, you'll see a red laser. And these help to approximate where the probes are going to hit. So with your older model tasers, the X26 Echo and the X26 Papa and the M26, they only had one laser. And that one laser showed an approximation of where that top probe was going to hit. And the top probe comes out at a flat trajectory, unless it was the long distance probe, then that one would actually fire at an upward angle. But your top probe for all your standard cartridges comes out at a flat trajectory, and your bottom probe is pointed down at, I forget the degree angle that it pointed down at, but it was a certain degree angle that it would point down. And so from 0 foot back to 25 foot, that meant that at 1 foot the probes would be X amount of inches apart from each other. And then when you go to 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, etc., that distance increased between the probes. Now, that of course is important for tasers because you need the spread with the probe. You need some distance between it. If you fire both probes into a person and they're super close, that's the same as taking a stun gun and hitting them with that stun gun. All you're going to be doing is causing pain. It will not achieve NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation. To get NMI, you have to have spreadage on the probes. There has to be, I forget what the minimum distance is, but let's say a foot. There needs to be at least a foot of spread between those probes to be able to achieve NMI. And so those older tasers, you had to kind of almost guesstimate where that bottom probe might hit. And so, because you only have that top laser to go off of. with these newer tasers, the X2 and the X3, which that's not made anymore, but with the X2 and the X7, they got 2 lasers on there, and that makes aiming them a lot easier, because now you can line the dots up, so to speak, and get them positioned just correctly, so that you have a better guess of where those probes are going to hit. They're not 100% accurate. I mean, they're not. It's not like you're getting like 1 minute of angle on these things. They're not like sniper accurate or nothing like that. It's just an approximation of where those probes are going to hit. They're close enough to get a pretty good guess on it, and it makes it really super easy to get the positioning right, because sometimes that taser could be tilted a little bit, and although that top probe is going to hit because it's tilted, that bottom probe could fly off to the side and not even hit. When you look for the lasers, there will be a green one up top here and a red one down here.
Drop the knife now.
So the green one's up here. Now, the red one right here, you'll notice, is right down close to where the legs are spreading right here. So if he only had one laser and he aimed a little bit lower and had it right here in the gut area, there's a possibility that bottom probe could have just went boom right there between the legs and never even touched her, and that would not achieve NMI. You just have one probe in, and it'd just be pain compliance at that point. Now, at that point, the pain could cause her to want to comply, like she's not going to be wanting it, or it could set her off and cause her to start running at her or him. So this is where I really like these newer taser units having the 2 lasers on them. It really takes out the guesswork on where that bottom probe is going to go, and you can get better shot placement with it.
Ow.
So let me back that up and we see it one more time.
Drop the knife now.
Alright, so one probe goes up here in the upper arm, right there, and the other probe goes right here at the bottom of the thigh, close to the knee. That's good spread right there. You're locking up from this point, make an imaginary line, and then this point here, imaginary line. Like you're locking everything up in between there. So that's great NMI. Whenever people do the go stiff as a board move, that's classic NMI. That's what you want with a taser deployment. You want them to lock up and be stiff as a board and go back.
Now. Drop the knife 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 now.
Taser videos never get old. So she's got the knife in her hand, and this deputy comes up and steps on it. She's able to take control of it, and I don't know what she ends up doing with it, but she's able to get away from her.
The knife.
Now, the deputy here ends up dropping her radio. This article that I read said that she was a property crimes detective. Yeah, property crimes detective Pamela Thomas. So I don't know, property crimes detective. She's not in an obvious patrol type of uniform, and her shoes are not typical patrol shoes. They look more like dress shoes. So she might work in an office more often, or she might have. I don't know what's going on with the shoes here, but these are not typical work shoes. at least not for the field. Something more or less I would expect in the office. She don't appear to have a typical duty belt on, so that's typical of detectives. They don't wear full duty belts or anything like that. You can see the normal belt with the belt loop right there. Cell phone case right here. She has a vest on, so I'd imagine she probably keeps a vest in the vehicle and throws that on when things happen and she needs to, quote unquote, go to work. The radio has fallen off, and here in a second, you'll see the radio case fall off as well.
God damn it!
So she kicked the radio off, and then, or kicked it away, and then this thing fell. And as I said, you can see right here, these are not typical tactical police shoes. But her radio case fell off. I don't know how she had this originally attached to her. I don't know if it was on her belt somehow or if it was on her vest. But when it comes to radio communications, radios are pretty damn important. And when it comes to mounting them to you, you need to approach it from the mindset of retention, just like your gun. You don't want to you don't want to easily lose that radio. You want to be able to retain it with the similar security over it as you would your service gun. And so if she had this thing mounted to her vest, then it might have been in a way that she's probably, in my head, I'm not, like I said, I don't know if this for sure, but I would say that she's probably used to clipping this thing on her regular belt, which we know right now is not a duty belt. So she's probably able to clip this thing down behind the belt and have it on a race line. So I'd imagine that probably what has gone on is she put her vest on and then clipped her radio to her vest. And did it in an area where it wouldn't go down into the webbing and get more, I want to say permanently positioned, but kind of stuck. And I'll go into what I'm talking about there here in a minute. But I think she probably put it maybe on a side panel or something like that, and her moving and squatting down ended up causing it to fall off. Or it could have been on her belt, and her moving and everything, and the vest hitting it, could have caused it to come loose. One of those I'm not really sure. But if it was her normally wearing the radio on the belt and then trying to clip it onto the vest somehow, then I don't think that's the best option. If you're going to have a vest in the car to be able to put on for emergent purposes, then, and you have the desire to want to put the radio on there, then I think you need to have a dedicated radio pouch on that vest. One that can fully wrap around the radio and has a retention strap that goes over the top of the radio and keeps it in place. For the belt, I do think that a better mount could be used. I'm not a big fan of these little clippy things. I think these are horrible for retention purposes because they don't go in very well. They end up just popping loose. There are tech lock attachments from there's those tech lock mountain options come with different radio cases. This is probably a Motorola product right here that comes with the radio. And again, like I said, it's a very general clip. It doesn't secure very well to anything. Certainly not user friendly for security or police, where you may be moving around quickly, squatting, doing whatever. A product that comes from a company like 09 Holsters, I think, is a pretty good product because it has a pretty robust case that the radio goes down into, and the mounting option is pretty damn good. You can get a tech lock and be able to put that on a regular belt like she's wearing and have it locked in place where that thing's not coming off. Yeah, it takes a few extra seconds to squeeze the sides in and disengage it and pull it off, but once it goes on the belt, it stays there. It's not going anywhere, unlike this little thing right here. Now, this little thing right here, it can be put on a vest and put in a way that it's going to stay on there pretty good, so long as the vest has the Molly Pals webbing, and you can take that little clip and stuff it down into the webbing, or a couple of rows of webbing, and there should be a little lip thing, like an L shape. So you got this long piece right here, and then this piece right here should curve inwards going towards the case like an L shape, and that, when you press it down into the Molly webbing, that should be able to catch on one of those webbings and make it really difficult to pull it back up out of the webbing. You would basically have to take the vest off and flex the material to get it loosened so that you can slide that thing back out of it. Otherwise, if you've got the vest on and the webbing strips are tight, they're taut across the fabric, it's going to be damn near impossible to pull this thing up out of it. But whatever option that you go with, you need to go with a good retention option, because this doesn't work. Someone could have very easily taken that radio, and if that would happen, that could be bad news, because depending on the radio system, you might not be able to shut that radio off. And when you think about radios, they're not just critical pieces of equipment for being able to relay information, call for help, etc., but they're also sensitive items. And when you have a radio floating around out there with unauthorized people, they can disrupt communications very easily. They can hit the push talk button and just blabbermouth on there. Start spitting. If they know 10 codes, they could start throwing 10 codes and say, shots fired, blah, blah, blah. Like, really wreak havoc if they really wanted to. Now, obviously, the agencies will be able to go switch to a second channel and start uprating off that if they weren't able to get the radio killed in time. Some agencies, depending on the radio setup, they may have the ability to remote kill the radio. Dispatch could access the computer, find the radio deck ID for that particular radio, and click a button, and goes through the repeater, sends a code to that radio, and it bricks it. Like, turns it into the most expensive paperweight ever. It won't receive anything. It won't transmit anything. Those are nice options to have, but not every agency has those options. They don't have a good dispatch center. And even for the ones, some places, they may have that ability to do all that stuff, but there may be only like one or two people who know exactly how to do all that stuff, and then everyone else, because they're not doing that stuff on the regular, they might not know how to easily do that. Some places they may have to pull out a manual and start looking through the manual, like, how do we remote kill this radio, and then try to go through it and figure out that way. So radios are important. You need to have good retention over them that is equal to or similar to the retention that you would want over your gun, because you don't need to be losing radios and people picking them up and start blabbering on them.
So you're all kidnapping me?
So you'll notice the two laser dots right here, the green and the red. So the closer that he's gotten, the closer these laser beams, or these dots, have gotten as well. So the closer you are, the closer the probes are going to be firing into you. So if he had the need to fire that second cartridge, then this is approximately where both of those probes would land at. And as he backs away, further away from the target, you'll see that the laser, or the distance between the two lasers, spreads.
You got it? Yeah, I know, it's gonna get cut up. But y'all get my family.
So luckily she's not resisting in this. If she had started resisting, then, just based off how I'm seeing her doing stuff, then I think it's a possibility that, things could have been a little bit difficult for them. he would have had to have hit this side arc button right here and taser another cycle through her. But it, like I said, luckily she became fully cooperative after being incapacitated and didn't resist. If she did, I think there probably could have been some complications.
He's my family.
So yeah, meth head straight out of Whiskey Tangoville here. Not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.